Welcome to The Hypnotist, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. Brought to you by the hypnotherapist demanded by celebrities, CEOs, and even royalty, Adam Cox. These recordings took place live from Adam's clinic in London's world-famous Harley Street. This podcast features powerful hypnosis, so do not listen while driving or operating machinery. This recording is not suitable for those with epilepsy or severe mental health issues. So, get yourself comfortable and enjoy today's episode of The Hypnotist.
Hi, it's Adam here, and in today's episode of The Hypnotist, you're going to be listening to a hypnosis session created for a client that was going through the late stages of a relationship that she wanted to end. And there was an element of weighing up the options as to whether or not it was the right thing to do or not the right thing to do. So this hypnosis session was designed to either enable her to weigh up the options as to how she would feel if the relationship ended, to really evaluate all the emotions and that kind of stuff, or to go through what's known as the grief cycle if the relationship actually ended and she chose to end the relationship. Most people think of the grief cycle in terms of bereavement because there is a proven cycle that over time has been quite useful for various psychologists and therapists working with, let's say, the people that are going through grief. And in terms of that process, I think it's Kubler and Ross in 1997 that kind of created the structure of this grief cycle. And there's various variations of it, but it really starts with the stage of denial. So this idea of, is this really true? Is it really happening? Or denying the consequences of whatever that information is. Then varieties of anger, which could be annoyance or frustration. Then going into bargaining, this kind of negotiation to kind of make things different. Quite often that bargaining is with themselves. Then sadness or depression, and then finally acceptance, and then living life again in this kind of fulfilling way. So this hypnosis session is really designed to fast track that process, to encourage it, and to get this client thinking about these things, to bring up the emotions so that they could process them in a way to get to that stage of acceptance in a more quicker way, but also to extract all of the wisdom, gratitude, and experiences from the relationship to become wiser in terms of making future choices and decisions. I think this session will be useful for anyone that hasn't perhaps quite got over a previous relationship, or maybe is stuck in one of these stages. Maybe they're stuck in anger or sadness, in which case this might be useful for you, even though it was created for someone else. If you are looking for something a bit more bespoke and unique to you and your circumstances, there will be a link in the show notes that you can schedule a free consultation call with me to explore working with me directly. But you might find that that's not necessary and that this free recording is helpful for you to make progress in this particular area. So find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, relax, and enjoy the session. Take a deep breath in, and as you breathe in a resourceful feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, allow yourself to release any feelings of stress, any feelings of worry, any tension, slowly and steadily from your outward breath. And notice with your eyes closed, you can give more of your attention to the sound of my voice, allowing my words to turn into meanings, thoughts and ideas that can enable you to make positive, powerful, and useful changes to take your life in the direction that you desire. I want you to think about life and loss. And I want you to think of a time when you were a child, perhaps when you had a pet, and that pet may have died. And it was a traumatic time, sad, painful. But you didn't stay that way forever. And maybe to begin with, you couldn't believe it had happened. Maybe you didn't know how to process or understand what was happening. Maybe you even told yourself it wasn't such a big deal. But then maybe there was a feeling of anger, frustration, annoyance. Why did this pet have to die? It's not fair. Why couldn't he have lived longer? Why did this have to happen? Maybe back then you were even looking for someone or something to blame. And maybe you started thinking to yourself, maybe you should have done something differently, paid more attention, done something differently to what you did. And then perhaps there was a feeling of sadness, an empty feeling, thinking of moments with that pet, with that animal, and realizing that that's the past and that's not possible anymore. But eventually, you started thinking about that pet, that animal, less and less. You understood everything alive must die one day. A plant, an animal, a human. You accepted the reality of the situation, and that helped you to move on. And although this process makes sense when you think about losing someone that is no longer alive, people can also feel grief or loss when someone just isn't in their life anymore. And that might be a friend moves away. It might be that a relationship comes to an end. And I want you to think about a relationship that is currently perhaps ending or has ended. And allow your mind to go on a journey to help you reach the point of acceptance, to close the loops and move forward. So I want you to imagine either the moment that the relationship ended or how it would or could end. And just scan your inner dialogue for any clues or signs of the opposite of acceptance, denial. What if I've done the wrong thing? What if it could have been different? This can't be happening. Or even the idea that it's temporary, but deep down you know it might be more permanent. But allow your mind to think of all the things that are not accepting of the end of this relationship. Allow them to float up. Feel it isn't real. Feel it's not true. Feel it's no big deal. And then I want you to allow yourself to progress to a feeling of annoyance, frustration, even anger. What are you angry about? You might be angry of things that they did. Maybe you're angry at yourself as to how or why you handled situations in the way that you did. Maybe you're angry that this relationship didn't live up to its potential. Angry that it could have been different but wasn't. Maybe you're angry that time feels like it was wasted. Emotions were invested into something that didn't grow as big as it could. Any feelings of a lack of fairness, a lack of honesty, a lack of transparency, that rules were broken, someone was treated in a way that they shouldn't. Allow feelings of anger, frustration, or annoyance to come up. Because anger will enable you to create new boundaries, learn important lessons. Some people believe that anything in life that you don't truly learn from, you're destined to repeat again and again. But once you learn the lesson, you escape the Groundhog Day of repetition, creating a new direction. So what if the anger enables you to raise your standards, to extract the wisdom, to become wiser, able to make better choices and decisions? What if it could be harnessed, utilized? And then move forward to think of all the ifs and woulds and coulds. Allow yourself to wonder if only it was slightly different. If only you did something differently, or maybe they did. If only they communicated in a different way. If only that thing that was said wasn't said. That thing that could have been done would have been done. Imagine if you had a time machine and you can go back and do things differently. Would you? Could you? Or perhaps at some level, it was meant to be this way for you to take the lessons required to move forward. And then allow yourself to move to a feeling of sadness. Maybe that sadness, you can feel it in your body. For some people it's around their throat, their heart, their gut, or in their head. Tears aren't required to be sad or feel sad. Sometimes good memories, amazing experiences can create a feeling of sadness to know that they won't happen in the same way again. Not with this person. And sometimes sadness can come from not what happened, but what could have happened. That it could have been different, but wasn't. You might remember some happy moments and miss them. Miss how they made you feel. And it's all part of a process. The process of moving forward. Sometimes when people are in a relationship, they imagine that it's all rainbows and sunshine, and feel that if a relationship ends, then suddenly everything must be awful. But what if good things can happen in a relationship that wasn't meant to be? And the same thing, that bad things can happen in a wonderful relationship. So allow yourself to feel the emotions, to feel what you feel, any feelings of loss, grief, sadness, sympathy, empathy. Feel it. Embrace it. It's a crucial part of moving on. And when you're ready, I want you to imagine extracting all of those memories and moments and extracting the gratitude from them. Maybe you're wiser as a person, more mature. Maybe they introduce things into your life that you would never have experienced, or maybe there's something else. You can be grateful for a wonderful relationship that ends, but you can also be grateful for a relationship that wasn't perfect, but still gave something of value to you. They say there is treasure in trauma, so even those painful moments may be valuable. So take all that value as you move into a feeling of acceptance, that it's going to be okay. It could be worse. So you appreciate that if it has to end, then it's better that it ends now, giving you a feeling of independence, that you can take control, that you can manage this. And that feeling that you can cope, you can handle it. Unlocking that pragmatic way of thinking. It is what it is, and you're okay with that. Meaning that you can shift your focus from backwards to forwards, from the past to the future, knowing that you're wiser now than you've ever been. There has never been a point in your life that you have had more experience than you have now, which means you're the best placed you've ever been to make new choices, new decisions, and to take new directions in life. Feel a wave of acceptance going from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes. And as you feel that acceptance, I want you to get a sense that any feelings of anger, sadness, stress, or wondering what could have been are all just disappearing, melting away. And I want you to start thinking of what a positive future looks like for you. When one door closes, another opens. A tree can't be planted in the very spot that a tree has already grown. And maybe a future is a future where you give yourself whatever you need right now, prioritizing self-care, prioritizing yourself. But then imagine a future further, where knowing what you now know, you're able to make better choices. Choices in terms of people you could meet, dates you can go on, things to look out for that would allow your intuition to steer you in a positive direction. When knowing what you now know, you have increased the probability and possibility of finding someone that aligns with your needs, your personality. And I want you to get a sense that you can imagine that you are creating a chain reaction into a more positive, more fulfilling future. And maybe you can even imagine what that looks like. Maybe it's the kind of person, the qualities you like, their attributes, their personality. Allow your mind to show you whatever it's going to show you. And accept the suggestion that good things are there in your future. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Feel like all parts returning to the present, listening to my voice. And very soon I will count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. You will awaken feeling complete acceptance, feeling resourceful, and feeling optimistic about the future. Starting to count to awaken you. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake. Wide awake. Wide awake.
Thank you for listening to The Hypnotist with Adam Cox, the show that gives you inside access to cutting-edge hypnosis with real clients facing genuine issues. To automatically receive the latest episodes, please subscribe. If you'd like to support the show, please share this episode with just one friend you think it could help. And if this episode helped you, please leave us a 5-star review.